I'm Weston. I love talking about the Rangers, and I'm here to talk about Game 43 of the regular season. Rangers win in the shootout over the LA Kings, 3-2. Shootout was 3-2 and 6 rounds. Oh boy, this was an interesting game, to say the least, and the Rangers had some issues, which I'll talk about, but you know what, no more further ado. Let's get talking about it. I guess before we can get into it, a couple things going into it. Filipino, day-to-day, out with an injury. Capo Caco is week to week, and it's presumed that it's going to be a while before we see him again, which is not great. And so because of that, the first line entering the game was Mika, Kreider, Panarin. At one point, it was Mika, Kreider, and Lafreniere, which I really liked, and it was only that way for like 3 shifts. And then it started getting changed around. I saw Gaudreau on it, I think, for a shift or so. We saw Gauthier there for quite a few shifts towards the end of it. I'm pretty sure Hunt was on it for a minute. And I'm going to talk about Lafreniere in a bit, probably towards the shootout portion of the evening, but the first line was changing a lot. And in the first period, the Rangers look bad. We get outshot to hell. Shots are 11-3 after the first period. You somehow lead it, but you have this nasty little thing recently where the Rangers just don't look good in first periods. Toronto game, you only got outshot in the first period 11-7, but you left that period down 3-1. The next game was Carolina. You left it being down 2-0 and were being outshot by 11-4. The last first period, which was against the Coyotes, you went after the first period being outshot 16-4 and trailing 1-0. And now tonight, it was 11-4. Like, the first period for us recently has been really, really bad and a problem. But by a miraculous miracle, this one you lead on a power play goal by Chris Kreider. I'll talk about that in a second. How did you go on the power play? Well, old friend of the Rangers, I don't think he's a friend anymore, Brendan Lemieux, charges and boards Ryan Lindgren. Now, let's have this little thing, right? So he completely brains Ryan Lindgren into the boards. Definitely a penalty. I agree that it should have been a 5-minute major. What I don't love is Ryan Lindgren getting up and cross-checking him, because now, instead of a 5-minute major power play, the Rangers get 3 minutes with an actual advantage. Now, I don't love that Ryan Lindgren, got up and cross-checked him. I don't think 2 wrongs make a right. At the same time, I really don't know how you solve this solution, because hockey players specifically are so hyper-aggressive that when you have a penalty like that, they usually respond. At the same time, he's responding, and this reaction by Ryan Lindgren is the response to an action by Brendan Lemieux. And for a minute when they were reviewing it, seeming like they might give, Brendan Lemieux only 2 minutes, you kind of go into a panic because you're like, man, he committed a way worse penalty. Like, that's way worse. You can see that that's way worse. And they might just be even for a minute. Thankfully, it was still a 5-minute major. One thing on the penalty review that I thought was funny was the Rangers broadcast. This wasn't even the Kings broadcast. The Rangers broadcast is talking about, like, well, it's kind of weird to see this happen. Brendan Lemieux has really cleaned up his game this year. He's been pretty penalty-free. Guys, I don't know how to remind you of this, but he bit a guy earlier this same year. This season, he bit a guy. He bit him multiple times, to the point where you have the moral question of how many times do you have to bite someone before it becomes eating? Is it twice? Is it thrice? I mean, you can kind of see from some angles it might have been 4 times that he bit/ate Brady Tkachuk. Like, I get that he hasn't been, just whapping people into the boards head first, but he ate a person! I just imagine Brady Tkachuk not even watching the game, just sitting at home, feeling a great disturbance in the forest when the Rangers broadcast is like, he's really cleaned it up this year. But thankfully, the Rangers would technically get an advantage out of it. It would basically be a 3-minute major power play. They would score 1 goal on it pretty well into the power play with only a few seconds left in the first period. Rangers have it in the offensive zone. They're doing work. They're passing it around. Panarin has it. He gives it to Adam Fox. Fox carries really up close to the net, gets past the face-off dot, basically around the back blue line, and shot on net. And hey, look, it's a Kreider tip-in. Kreider, 30 this year. Whoo boy. Chris Kreider, man. Power play goal. Rangers take a 1-0 lead at the very last few seconds of the first period. This goal came at 19:58. We would still have a little bit of power play time in the second period. We didn't do anything with it. And then about halfway through, turnover in the offensive zone by the Rangers. I think it was Ryan Strome with a bad pass. Kings get it. They give it to Blake Lizotte. He carries in. It's 1-on-1, him versus Jacob Trouba. And, I mean, he puts a pretty nice shot on goal. Trouba's kind of screening the shot, but I love him. Shesterkin's really got to have that. I mean, that was not a particularly dangerous shot that just sneaks past him. Now, I'm going to emphasize this. Shesterkin was wonderful tonight. Shesterkin is a massive reason of why we won. He stopped 34 of 36, including quite a few buttes in the shootout. But this goal, man, you'd like him to have that. But when he does everything else he did tonight, you're not going to get too hard on him for it. It's tied 1 apiece. Much later in the second period, Rangers get into some penalty trouble. Ryan Strome, high sticking. It's a double minor. And I'm a little embarrassed to say that when it cut back to the person Ryan Strome high sticked, I was like, there's not that much blood. But rules are rules. It's a double minor. Kings on the power play. They're passing it around. Kopitar takes a shot on goal. It's stopped. Alex Laffy, right in front, being a crease rat, puts it on in. And I am not going to blame Shesterkin too much for this one. A, because it's a power play goal, which means you were at an automatic disadvantage. Second, Trouba was not interfering with him in a bad way. Trouba was trying to do his job. He was trying to be in front and get the players off of Shesterkin. And he did. If you look here, Shesterkin was pretty well open. There were no kings near him. But because of that, he skates. He does a push-off towards his right. And he goes right into Jacob Trouba. And if Trouba was on the other team, this goal would probably come back for goaltender interference. But Trouba's on our team. Nonetheless, the goalie was interfered with. It just happened to be his own teammate. So I'm not really upset with Shesterkin on this one. Plus, it was a pretty nice shot by Alex Laffy. And it's 2-1 Kings. The Rangers are going to have to launch a comeback. And for quite a while, it really looks like the Rangers are just getting goalied. Jonathan Quick tonight was amazing for the LA Kings. There is a reason he was the third star in a game that he lost. He was otherworldly tonight. Thankfully, Shesterkin was just a little bit better. But this goal is just super unlucky if you're Jonathan Quick. Rangers battling along the boards in the offensive zone. They're playing it around. It was back to Strome. He passes it to Panarin. Panarin back to Strome. Strome back to Panarin. He takes a shot, and boy, oh boy, was this a beautiful tip by Barclay Goodrow. Just absolutely perfect. Bangs off the crossbar and in. If you are Jonathan Quick here, you just got to kind of shake your fist into the void. There is nothing he could do there, and there is no goaltender in the league that could possibly have stopped that. That was the definition of a perfect tip by Barclay Goodrow. Now, I'm going to go to bat for Barclay Goodrow here because this was an incredible play. Goodrow, who to some has been a bit of a disappointment this season, especially for the cap hit, I've been pretty content. I think he's been fine. He's serving his purpose. He's doing his thing. And this was just a super smart play by Barclay Goodrow. He is being guarded by Ondrej Kopitar. If he tries to move around, Kopitar, significantly bigger than him, is just going to shove him away. And instead, he just gets set. Kopitar, because he thinks he's far enough out, isn't trying to move him. Goodrow set up very nice as a screen against Jonathan Quick and gets a nice tip. That was a beautiful play by Barclay Goodrow, mostly set up by Panarin and Strome. Really just a nice play by that entire line. I'm a pretty big fan of that line, if I'm being honest with you guys. And the Rangers tie it at 2 apiece. I think we're heading to overtime, but with a little over a minute left, penalty on the Kings, tripping against Mika Zibanejad. And the Rangers go on a power play, and maybe they can win it before overtime. No, it goes to overtime. In overtime, I've never seen this. There was no stoppages. It was the initial puck drop, and it did not stop until time expired. It just kept going. That was, I mean, I've never seen that before. That was something special. It was 4-on-4 overtime the entire time, which was pretty funny, except, well, other than the 40-some seconds where it was a Rangers power play. And so we head into everyone's least favorite part of the game, that is also the most exciting part of the game, the shootout. Save on Kempe. Mwah, beautiful one. Kreider takes a shot, and he would miss the net entirely. Another beautiful save by Shesterkin. Mika backhand is saved by Quick. That was also beautiful. Again, I cannot emphasize how good Quick was tonight. Ondrej Kopitar heads in, takes a shot. A pretty beautiful shot by Ondrej Kopitar. Another one that it's the shootout, so obviously, that sort of comes with the asterisk. But man, I mean, how do you stop that one? Then it's Panarin's shot. You got to score to stay in it. And Panarin delivers a beautiful patented Panarin overtime goal where he just waits. Pew! Got him. He makes another save on Alex Laffy. Then Quinton Byfield scores a goal. And up steps Alexis Lafreniere. Oh, God. Before we go on to the Alexis Lafreniere shot, I got to take a time out here. Quinton Byfield is younger than I am. And I kind of hate life right now. Oh God, I gotta get back in my headspace. So he was taking one pick after Alexei Lafreniere, who's just a few months younger than older than I am. He was taking one pick after Lafreniere, and then he scores the goal in the shootout, and you're thinking, oh, that's not great. Maybe then Alexei Lafreniere comes in to show that, hey, I'm a pretty good player. Beautiful backhand by Alexei Lafreniere to keep the Rangers alive. Just beauty by Lafreniere. Quinnen Byfield is younger than I. Damn! I can't let that get in the way. That was a beautiful shot by Alexei Lafreniere. Keeps the Rangers alive. Shesterkin with a save on Arthur Calavy. Probably butchering that. And then Adam Fox carries in. Beautiful move. Beautiful forehand, backhand. Boom! Up into the net with such force they got stuck in it. Maybe not quite Cole Caulfield's, but that was a pretty darn nice winner for Adam Fox, and the Rangers win it in the shootout. A little stressful, but hey, we won. With Alexei Lafreniere being recent in my memory, because we just talked about him, and also the fact that, his counterpart scarred me for life a few seconds ago, he was on the first line for like 3 shifts tonight. And I gotta say, I thought it was fine. Thought the first line was fine with him on it. And then they threw him down. And look, I like Alexei Lafreniere, and I'm not going to act like Alexei Lafreniere has been great to this point. He hasn't. But at the same time, you kind of got to look at things and go, what do you expect from Alexei Lafreniere? What do you expect from him? What? Look at his line mates. For the majority of this game, his line mates were Greg McKegg and Ryan Reeves. I like Ryan Reeves a lot. I love Ryan Reeves. He's not an offensive player. He is there for this reason, and that's pretty much it, right? He had 2 goals this year, which exceeded his goal total last season. You're getting the point I'm putting here. You're putting him with players that are, no offense, but have little to no offensive ability at this level. Maybe it's because they're just not really good offensive players and more physical, or maybe they just haven't developed yet, like when he was on the line with Hedl and Gauthier. And people are losing their mind of like, man, why is he not scoring at 50? Why isn't he a point a game player? I mean, look at what he's got next to him. How is he not doing good with Greg McKegg centering him? And putting Gauthier on the first line as a replacement for Alexei Lafreniere, if you're Laffy, has kind of got to be a spit in the face to you. I mean, Gauthier isn't doing anything this year, and I like Julien Gauthier. I've went to bat for him a few times this season. But in 29 games this year, he has 3 goals and 3 assists for 6 points. Lafreniere this season has, in 40 games, 11 points, which isn't great, but he's got 8 goals. Like, I understand he's not doing good. I'm not going to say he's doing good, but look at what he's working with. I'm reminded that during those 3 games when he was actually getting, top shift time with competent players and was playing with Panarin, Strome, and Gaudreau, just a reminder, in those 3 games, he had 3 points and was a +5. Just a reminder. Like, yeah, again, this season, he's not doing well. He has 11 points, and that's bad. That is significantly worse than last year. I mean, in 56 games last year, he had 21. He has, 11 and 40 this year. That's not good. But, guys, he's averaging 13-30 a night. What do you want him to do? I'm not saying put him on the first line for 5 weeks and see what happens, but he was on there for like 3 or 4 shifts tonight. Like, I get that Gallant changes the lines a lot, but man, let him get a little bit comfortable there. Like, that kind of irritated me when he switched Lafreniere out straight up for Gauthier. I did not like that at all. Like, Kakko is going to be out for a while. I'm not happy about it, but he's going to be out for a little bit. You got to make Lafreniere the top line winger. You have to. Like, just give the guy a chance. Now, the Rangers also have this tiny little problem on their hands called we look terrible at 5-on-5 hockey. One of our goals was on the power play. The other goal was actually on 5-on-5, which is, kind of becoming this rarity for us. But we, tonight, on 5-on-5, looked pretty bad. Throughout the night, we had 30 shots, which is actually solid. But here's the asterisk. 33%, or 34 if you want to be a jerk about it, came from Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider alone. Not their line, just those two. I'm not going to dismiss the fact totally that the Kings are a pretty good team. They're in a playoff spot right now, but man, the Rangers continue to sit near the top of the standings and be one of the most inconvincing juggernauts we've really ever seen, and I really think the term juggernaut should not be used for them quite yet. will say a specific player that I thought played really well and just kept getting unlucky was Artemi Panarin. He had a few great chances, and I mean, Trouba had a shot that just was absolutely robbed. Panarin had a few of them. And he did have a couple of assists tonight, that beautiful assist with the Barclay Goodrow goal, the secondary assist on the power play, which was, I mean, he still helped on that play actually by just kind of existing because Panarin on a power play is scary. So I'm not going to give him a hard time. He played fine. The offense, again, I mean, 30 shots. Honestly, I think we played pretty darn good and just kind of got goalied. But hey, you were able to win, so I'm not going to be, you know what, you won. Let's just leave it at that. Rangers play again Thursday. We're at Columbus at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be here after that game. So that is all I have to say for the evening. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day, and as always, go Rangers.